5 biggest challenges of living in the Philippines as a Filipino American. What is up, everyone? This is Gilsar Vergara back again with another video. And if you stay till the very end of the video, hopefully I would have given you some insights and some value for those of you Fil-Ams especially. This will give you some type of insight as to what it is from a Filipino American person's point of view who grew up in America for the majority part of their life. What it's like living here in the Philippines. And number one, culture shock and the identity crisis. Because people like us have lived in abroad for quite a long time. Me, I lived in New York for over 30 years. Although I am Filipino and ethnicity, I am more American. And that gave me kind of like a obstacle to go over when I first came here, and it might give you an obstacle. Identity crisis-wise, it's almost like you're not Filipino enough for the people here. And it causes a lot of weird moments, awkwardness from time to time. Like, for instance, when I go to a store or anywhere, generally speaking, people speak the local dialect to me because obviously I look Filipino. The problem is I can't speak Tagalog. I can somewhat understand it. I can speak Bisaya, not really that good, but I can understand it. So usually my wife will speak Bisaya to me. I will answer in English. But the identity crisis part for me is local Filipinos assume that I speak the language. So it's just like as if you see those videos sometimes, or some foreigners are in Japan and they speak Japanese to them like they know Japanese. So that's always been an issue for me because even when I'm out, literally wherever I go, people speak Bisaya to me or Cebuano, not knowing that I grew up in America. So me to fight that, I had to learn the language more. So many of us Filipino Americans, especially for me, I might be speaking for myself, you're somewhat of in a quagmire of who you are. Like, am I American? Am I Filipino? Sometimes people talk to me or ask me about things in America, so I get excited. But then when I'm in America, people talk about, what is it to be like the Filipino experience, and I get excited. So kind of like a rock, but not really in a hard place, but that's number one for me. And on top of that, especially with the language, there's a subtle pressure as to learning the language. And some of us don't want to learn the language. I mean, I grew up with it around me, so to some degree, it's always been around me. I've been married for almost 20 years, so I speak Bisaya to my wife most of them, like 50-50 in the house. Me personally, I would try my best to, if I were you, I would try my best to learn as much as I can. And, honestly, on the local side of things, the local Filipinos, they make it very apparent that you don't fit in, unfortunately. Number two, adjusting to the local lifestyle. If you grew up in America for long periods of time, you're going to be accustomed to a few things. When you come here, you have to adjust to the local life here. I'm from New York. I'm from the East Coast. Everything's moving fast all the time. Here, you kind of have to adjust to the pace of the Filipino here, which is the local Filipinos, which is a bit slower. And sometimes for me, it's really aggravating, But I am not in America anymore. So I have to adjust to those things. So the concept of Filipino time is really a real thing, to be honest with you. Like me, I have learned that if you set up an event, if you really want people there at 3 o'clock, you make it 2:30. So punctuality has always been an issue here for Philippines. I just don't know why. This is professional Filipinos. I believe they have a concept of time, like a respectful time, but the majority of Filipinos here do not. Unfortunately, they just don't. Because people here are a bit more relaxed. They're, with their schedules and pretty much everything. Please expect that when you come here. Like I said, especially someone like me coming from New York, there's a sense of like American efficiency or like New York efficiency, or just as, I don't have time to do this, let's make this happen right now type vibe. Here, it's like a smack in the mouth, so I had to get used to it. So, not saying that you should accept it, but I am saying to some degree you have to adjust to it or adapt to it and make some modifications on your end. Number three, the bureaucracy and the red tape. This is something that I get very frustrated with because I am pretty outspoken. Once again, you are not in America. You are in the Philippines. So therefore, adjust to the Philippines. Don't bring your American ideologies and your standards to some degree here because you're going to be met with frustration and disappointment, I'll be honest with you. But there are certain companies making strides to run a lot more transparent and cleaner. or try their best to at least. So obviously in America, we're so used to having things streamlined, even like with the federal system, the identity system, the social security system. It's not like that here. It's literally it's like their own agencies running in autonomy, trying their best to work together as one, which is, I can go deeper into it, but for me, it's just like it's a power struggle of people wanting to be in power and nobody wanting to be under each other. That's how I personally feel. If you want more videos on how I feel politically, maybe, maybe if I have a members page, I can kind of, exercise that a bit more. But I don't think a lot of people want to hear my mouth on certain things. But nonetheless, getting simple things like a driver's license, any type of ID, has been frustrating from time to time. Just the wait times for certain things, the lines. Understand that they're not going to be as streamlined as what you're used to. But some agencies have gone online already. So, like for instance, like the NBI has gone online already. In my experience, NBI has gone online. And then Social Security, Pag-ibig has gone online, which is like their, I guess, like their Social Security system here. And I do know some other agencies have gone digital. So banks have gone digital to a great degree. I don't ever really go to the bank anymore to withdraw money. Everything's on the app. So that has helped a whole lot compared to when I was going to school here back in 08, like 06, 08 at the time. It was still rudimentary here, unfortunately. But if you're traveling here, just understand that Philippines is a bit behind in certain technologies and on par with certain technologies as well. So it's going to be a mixed bag. So the only thing I can say to that is like, it's literally almost like you coming from New York and going to some small town in the boonies, like down south or out in the Midwest. I would think that's kind of like the same feels. But the underlying thing that you should have is when you come into the Philippines, is lots and lots and lots of patience. Number 4 is family expectations and pressures. Now, coming from America or abroad or anything where you go, Filipino Americans, tell me if I'm wrong, comment down below. Everyone expects you to some degree bring pasalubong, gifts, palibre. A lot of things should be free, or you should be supporting so many parts of your family. That's like 50-50 with me. I do love taking care of my family, but at the same time, I don't like giving away money that it's fruitless, as in I know that's not going to be used to good use. You tell me how you feel about certain things like that, but I work hard, my wife and I work hard for our money, and it doesn't grow on trees. The problem is, people, sometimes in the Philippines, relatives especially, think that it grows on trees, or it's just picked up like it's nothing. It's like delivered like mail. For some reason, many people here, I find, don't equate that people outside of the Philippines still have to work, still have to do 9 to 5, still have to give up hours in exchange for money. Or if they have businesses in America, some businesses are still right above breaking even and about to sink sometimes. So that's a pressure. It's an awkwardness, especially within my family. Nobody really asks me for money like that. Some people do, but there's always going to be an awkwardness that I have within my family, or maybe you have within your family. But with that said, you're always going to have those pressures of, yeah, you're the breadwinner. Why don't you support everyone else? So it's really like, it's almost as if they choose one or sets of people within the family that are the people. And at the same time, I feel that sometimes certain parts of the family are not empowered to do their own thing. I'm more than happy to help people that are trying their best to do something or elevate themselves. I do not feel good helping people, family or otherwise, just sit there, go to the cockpit on Sunday, constantly be a tambay, which is a standby on the corner, and expect like life's gonna come to them. I just honestly, I don't have no respect for people that way, because coming from America, you're coming from a system of values where they value independence. Here, to some degree, there's a sense of dependence on the breadwinners here, like I said. So I don't know where we can adjust that, or I do know that once again, you have to practice a lot of patience, be okay with being in those awkward moments, and or just not hang out with family as much as you want to, unfortunately. Or within the family, pick the people that are progressive, Pick the people that are understanding and then totally accept it for what it is. At the end of the day, if you're not prepared, listen out. You're going to be emotionally exhausted. And number 5, last but not least, the realities of safety and security. I am not, this is like, when I came up with this list, it's 50-50 for me. Like, I lived in Davao, I lived in Cebu, I lived in Dumaguete. Davao is safe within those areas, but when you go outside of those Davao, the boundaries, it gets kind of weird. I'm very like conspiracy theorist type person, so I can imagine you being put in a bad situation. Some of those roads don't have lights, and the roads are going this way. Anybody can stop you. But then again, you can go to a backwoods town in America and might find that as well. So I'm like 50-50 with that situation after rethinking this. So I'm not saying the Philippines is dangerous, although sometimes in Mindanao they have those lists of no travel. I'm not saying it's dangerous at all compared to like some place in there are dangerous places, but in the whole entire country, it's not dangerous because you got to adjust to your environment. There's things where you're just going to be like, oh crap, this is how it is. You're on the news, people getting robbed, or people get, unfortunately, not living here anymore. My point is, I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, or a decently rough neighborhood, so I'm kind of used to it. But for someone that comes from like the safety of like, let's say, a town that never really experiences crime, this might be a change for you, because you see certain things throughout the day here or throughout the time here. So that's all I'm saying. But for me, living here in the Philippines for the past 2 years and then from before, I've never come into an issue when it comes to safety or security for me. And that's coming from a person with businesses here and with family ties here who've done businesses or conducted businesses here in the Philippines for over 100 years. I've never come across an issue here. If there are any quarrels or anything that happened within my family, or what I know what happens in the Philippines, it's more of a personal thing. You rarely find people here in the Philippines where it's like New York, right? Where you hear people just got ran up on and got robbed. It's really rare here to some degree. I don't want to say the word, all the unfortunate killings and all things here from that time, those are all like planned hits, unfortunately. But with that said, do your own due diligence. Understand, like, if you're not from those areas where you can tell when things might get weird, you kind of need to, study your area. First walk around in the safe areas, and then, you need to be able to recognize where these weird areas are, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You gotta be a cognizant of where you're at. Don't be that person. And I do see this from time to time. Young person, mostly guys. They come in here thinking they're into a developing country, so they rule the country, or they think this is like they own the country type thing vibe, where they're just obnoxious, arrogant. Even if you do that in New York, you're gonna get ran up on. To be honest with you, or any place where you think you're tough, you think you're just arrogant, you're gonna eventually get ran up on. The problem is there's cops and police that can be called. There's investigators, detectives in America. Here, those are here as well, but you're gonna go through a lot of red tape, and I don't think they're as thorough as it is in America. So calm yourself down if you're gonna come over here as a Filipino American. Don't believe you're above the local Filipinos. That's number one. Number two, just like the golden rule, treat people as you want to be treated. So with that said, those are my 5. Hopefully they gave you some type of insight and value if you are visiting here, or just look out for certain things here. But take care. I'll see you soon. God bless. Bye.